The dining room hummed with the soft clinking of crystal glasses and the low, melodic murmur of polite conversation. Laughter rippled through the air, warm and genuine, oblivious to the tension coiling in my chest like an iron vice. For the first time in the 15 years we'd been hosting these monthly dinner parties, I felt like a stranger in my own home. "You'll never guess what Philippe did for me last weekend," my wife, Lauren, announced, her voice a siren call that commanded the attention of every guest at the table. She swirled the deep red wine in her glass with an effortless grace, her lips curving into a smile so radiant it was almost childlike. Almost. Philippe. She'd mentioned him before. A work colleague, she'd claimed. An invaluable connection, she'd said. But never with this level of reverence. Never with this glow. "Oh, do tell." Amanda, our neighbor with a penchant for prying, leaned forward eagerly, her curiosity palpable as she hung on Lauren's every word. Lauren didn't miss a beat. "He surprised me with a weekend trip to Napa. Private villa, exclusive wine tastings, the works," she said, her laughter bubbling up like champagne, effervescent and entirely foreign. Honestly, I felt like royalty. The table erupted in gasps of admiration and envious murmurs. Compliments flowed as freely as the wine, but their voices faded into a dull hum in my ears. My pulse pounded, drowning out everything but the stark reality of her words. I sat frozen, my gaze fixed on the woman I had spent 17 years building a life with. My wife. My partner. Yet there she was, recounting her lover's grand gestures with unapologetic glee, as though I were nothing more than a phantom at the table. She hadn't looked at me once. "That's incredible," Amanda gushed, her voice heavy with envy. "You're so lucky to have someone who treats you like that." Lucky. The word stabbed at me like a dagger. Lauren was indeed lucky, but not in the way Amanda thought. She hadn't mentioned the man who had spent over a decade working grueling hours to give her the life she wanted. The man who had bought her this house, hosted these dinners, supported her every whim and dream. Me. "It sounds like Philippe has quite the flair for romance," I said, my voice unervingly calm, slicing through the air like a blade. At last, Lauren's eyes flicked to mine. For a fleeting moment, something surfaced in her gaze. Guilt, perhaps, or irritation. It was gone almost as quickly as it appeared, replaced by a smile that was cool, guarded, and defiant. "He certainly does," she replied, her tone deliberate and dismissive. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of forced smiles and hollow pleasantries. I played my part as the gracious host, ensuring wine glasses stayed full and plates were replenished, all while a storm churned inside me. I wasn't just angry. I was humiliated, betrayed, hurt. But beneath it all, I was determined. By the time the last guest stepped out into the crisp night air, I had a plan. The next morning, I carried on as if nothing had changed. I kissed Lauren on the cheek, wished her a good day at work, and watched her drive off with a breezy wave. Then I got to work. The first step was uncovering the truth. Philippe, it turned out, wasn't one for subtlety. A quick search of Lauren's phone records revealed a trail of calls, texts, and photos that painted a vivid picture of their clandestine affair. I forwarded the most damning evidence to myself, including selfies of the two of them at the villa, her smile wide and unrestrained in a way it hadn't been with me for years. Next, I delved into our finances. Every lavish meal, every indulgent hotel stay, every extravagant gift, she had charged it all to our shared account. She'd been funding her double life with my hard-earned money. By the time I was done, I had a mountain of evidence. And yet, I wasn't ready to burn it all down just yet. Revenge, I decided, required precision. I picked up the phone and dialed my lawyer. Divorce wasn't the immediate goal. Not yet. But this was just the beginning. I wanted to ensure that the fallout would unfold on my terms. The next dinner party was scheduled for 2 weeks later, granting me just enough time to prepare the perfect stage for what was to come. When the night arrived, the house was aglow with its usual elegance. Candlelight flickered over polished mahogany, and the air carried the heady aroma of cocoa vin simmered to perfection. Guests trickled in, their laughter mingling with the clink of glasses as conversations ranged from politics to the latest Netflix phenomenon. Lauren, ever the consummate hostess, moved among them like a queen, her laughter light and infectious. Her betrayal lay hidden beneath the flawless veneer of domestic bliss, a secret I had carried long enough. It wasn't until dessert that I made my move. The tiramisu had just been served when I rose from my seat, a glass of champagne in hand. Before we dig in, I began, my voice measured but clear. I'd like to propose a toast. The room quieted as all eyes turned to me. Lauren looked up, a curious smile tugging at her lips. 17 years ago, I said, my gaze fixed on her, I married the love of my life. Lauren, you have been my partner, my confidant, and the greatest source of joy in my life. Tonight, I want to celebrate you. A murmur of admiration rippled through the room. Lauren's smile widened, but I caught the faint flicker of unease in her eyes. I paused, allowing the weight of my words to settle. But, I continued, my tone sharpening like a blade, marriage, as we all know, is built on trust. The word hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. The room stilled, the soft clinking of silverware ceasing altogether. And trust, I said slowly, once broken, can never be the same. Lauren's smile faltered, the color draining from her face. Her hand tightened around her wine glass, her knuckles white. Lauren, I said, my voice steady, I know about Philippe. The room erupted into gasps, like the shattering of glass. Lauren's expression crumbled, her composure unraveling before everyone's eyes. For months, I continued, unrelenting, you have lied to me. You've used our home, our money, and our marriage as a facade for your deception. And last week, you had the audacity to flaunt it, at this very table. David, she began, her voice trembling, but I held up a hand to silence her. Save it, I said sharply. Turning to our stunned guests, I added, I've gathered everything. The texts, the photos, the receipts. I'll be filing for divorce on Monday. But tonight isn't just about that. Reaching beneath the table, I pulled out a folder and placed it before me with deliberate care. Inside, I said, my voice cold, are copies of Lauren's indiscretions. I thought it only fair that her closest friends know the truth about the woman you've been defending and admiring. Lauren's face twisted with fury, her humiliation palpable. How dare you, she hissed, her voice low and venomous. How dare I? I echoed, my voice rising as anger finally broke through my calm. How dare you? You made a mockery of our marriage, of our home, of everything we built together. Consider this your reckoning. Turning back to the room, I addressed the silent, wide-eyed crowd. You'll forgive me if I don't see you out, I said, my tone laced with icy politeness. I have packing to do. With that, I walked away, the sound of my footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence. The fallout was as swift as it was brutal. Lauren's carefully cultivated reputation crumbled overnight, her shame spreading like wildfire among the very friends she had once charmed. Philippe, as it turned out, was married as well. His wife filed for divorce within days, citing the evidence I had uncovered. As for me, I moved into a sleek, modern apartment downtown, a sanctuary far removed from the ruins of my old life. The divorce was handled swiftly, my lawyer ensuring a settlement heavily weighted in my favor. In the months that followed, apologies and awkward encounters became commonplace. Some former friends sided with Lauren, accusing me of cruelty. Others commended my boldness, confessing they'd long suspected something amiss. I paid them little mind. What mattered was that I was free. Free from the lies, the betrayal, and the woman who had proven herself unworthy of my love. For the first time in years, I felt unburdened, whole. And as I stood by the window of my new home, watching the city lights flicker against the night sky, I knew I had reclaimed my life.